Welcome to today's edition where we are going to interact with Dr. Parama Gupta, Assistant Professor in the Department of Psychology. Today, she would be throwing light on the psychology department and psychology being taught at NSHM Knowledge Campus Kolkata. At the outset, good afternoon, Parama.
Afternoon.
Could you kindly tell us something about psychology as a subject?
Hmm. So basically, psychology is a social science, and by social science, we mean anything that is a science that has a particular cause and effect. So, human behavior is referred to by psychologists as having certain scientific reasons behind whatever is happening, why it is happening, and what will be the future of that particular behavior. So, any that kind of scenario when happening in a society is referred to as something which can be covered under social science. So, psychology is a social science which is the study of human behavior in a social scenario. So, we can call that psychology is a everyday science. So, it is everywhere. It is here, whether whatever is going on within us, it is in the room next door, whatever is happening between two, three people interacting there, it is in the next building, it is in a hospital, it is in a clinic, it is even in our domestic houses. So, in short, we can say that psychology is a common man's science which is everywhere. And once we pursue psychology, professionally, definitely we will grace it in a different way, but personally also, all of us will actually be resourced once we are from a psychology background, even a minor, simple psychology graduate.
Oh, wonderful. That's interesting to note that. Post pandemic, you would post COVID 19, there has been great, greater understanding, greater importance attached to psychology as a subject. And we also see that the number of people who are getting into depression, people who are wanting to be counseled and interacted with, has also increased. So, there are two parts of the question today. One is how is it post pandemic the has this evolvement of psychology as a subject happened, and how does psychology, we'll come to the second part of it a little later, but how is it post pandemic the way the entire subject of psychology has evolved, and why are there so many takers for it now?
Okay. So basically, if we see till 2020 beginning, the first part of it, January, February, psychology was developing. It is a new science, but it was developing. But we see a huge increase in the pace of its development. Primarily is what you told, that mental health issues suddenly increased because we were confined inside our houses. So many of us working outside do not interact with our family members so much. So many a time several domestic issues do not come up that way because I am not interacting much with my parents. I'm not interacting for that matter much with my partner also in my house. But COVID pandemic forced us to be inside. Even when I was doing an online meeting at my home, my family members are in and around me. So that is why the pure clinical issues that you're talking about came up because of the confinement. But additionally, it is from the context of positive psychology. The factor that additionally made this pace faster was the context that this particular COVID virus actually got. That was distance even between our family members. So, for the first time, a child was taught that your father is going out for the market, so you are not supposed to touch your father, because at
Right,
that point of time we knew that it was through touch that COVID is spreading.
right,
You're not supposed to go near your father. The child who was supposed to be on the lap of the father, you're not
right,
supposed to go there. So
absolutely.
that was a context which psychology was doing before 2020. Was also, it was dealing with it, but that was the time when structured research associated with this thing started coming up.
Right.
That this is so important. Right now you can go to Instagram and see reels of that also. What is the importance of touch, what is the importance of hugging a person? That was something that we actually trained people not to do, because doctors were also saying don't touch someone. Say your family member is a nurse or a doctor working in the COVID ward. So they were isolated. You're inside the house. You can see your person coming inside, the family member, but he or she is in a separate room. That gave psychology a different dimension, which we consider from the perspective of structured research and understanding. We were doing it, but COVID-19 actually made it very easily available to a common man also, the importance of it. And naturally, something like psychology, when you feel that it is important for you, it is easier for us to make you realize that okay, this is this and that is that. Now you take the professional help for all kinds of problems you are having. So psychology in the modern world is developing. Why we feel that COVID-19 has given it a hike is independently clinical illnesses have increased, like depression or the things that you were talking. Other than that, basically common day problems, like our understanding of this, that I can see you but I cannot reach you after a particular extent, that can also have a huge setback on me, was something that people slowly started understanding. And
Okay.
that is the domain that we are working currently in the leap. And I think many people, we call it unconscious need. So many people are actually striving psychology for that unconscious need, which you introduced in the context of Department of Psychology, NSHM Knowledge Campus, so Kolkata. So we actually try to encounter to that unconscious need of the person, which perhaps we also do not know consciously that what we are striving for.
Okay.
So that is the scenario.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. So, so much has happened in the area of psychology. So, I would like to you to elaborate on what are the various areas of psychology, which would be something a great knowledge for the listeners and the viewers.
Hmm. So I think everybody, psychology as people are opting. So what is the difference between psychology 20 years back and now is that maybe 20 years back, we did not know that this is a structured discipline, but it was there. We have several colleges who are teaching psychology for years. But nowadays, we know that it is a subject, it is a discipline which is taught. So that is the kind of awareness, the kind of progress that I think that the mankind has done. But beyond that, we mostly understand psychology from the perspective of clinical psychology
Right.
and psychotherapeutic intervention. That
Absolutely.
you are just working beside a
Yes.
psychiatrist when a pharmacological treatment ends, is where a psychologist's role starts, and you do some kind of cognitive behavior therapy or any kind of therapy, and you try to bring that person out of that mental condition. It is there. It is definitely the most in vogue subfield of psychology. But the way psychology is progressing nowadays, there are a number of new things associated with psychology, like something called community psychology,
Right.
which we are catering here. Our students, basically, we go out for community services in rural parts of West Bengal. Currently, we are doing it in West Bengal,
Okay.
but we have a higher vision to go in and around all villages and rural portions of India as well. Because our understanding is that psychology develops in the background of a person. So,
Right.
my background means my family. So, my parents, my primary caregivers. So, if I can set my student there, we have a clinic, a free clinic where our final year master's students, with our supervision, they check clients out there. But what happens there is, it is a prior registered clinic. So when you feel that you have a problem, or maybe your near and dear ones feel, they make you take the appointment.
Right.
But what about those people who don't understand? There are still many people
Absolutely.
who don't understand. And psychopathology development is very insidious.
Yeah.
When we understand that the person is having a problem, it is a lump sum amount of time gone in between.
Right.
So we basically want our students to understand that where this psychopathology develops.
Okay.
So when we go there, we sit beside the woman inside her kitchen and try to elicit something which the person says as a very common thing. But we teach them, see, this is the origin. This person will come up with a problem in the next 2 years. So when you understand how it develops, as it is a social science, as it is socio-culturally late, that is why if our students can understand that part, then understanding the subject will be lucid for them, first
Right.
thing. And second thing is, community psychology is a like subfield, is a very very in subfield nowadays. So if they are going out for the profession, specifically what happens nowadays is children are very protected in their family,
Right.
so that is a very different life. So when
Right.
you expose a student to that life, it creates them for their professional world, the way psychology demands them to give,
Right.
and they actually would require to give as a professional. So these are the two most in vogue areas. Rest, like if I want to say commonly, that psychology is everywhere.
Right.
Every school is employing a student counselor, that is a psychology postgraduate. Hospitals have clinical psychologist posts in psychiatry wards. We have it in the HR departments of
Right.
several private companies nowadays who are actually supposed to be from a psychology background. We have it in, let's put aside academics like
Right.
college teaching or school teaching or something like that. So yeah, I think even if you want to keep your marriage, you need a marital counselor. So it is everywhere. Beyond that, I think community psychology is the new thing which the upcoming students should understand, that is a domain where also it is an additive factor, so it's
Absolutely.
additional domain.
So you're talking about community psychology. I'd like to ask you one thing. No, you are talking about our students. Our
Hmm.
students are placed in the urban area.
Hmm.
So you're talking about sending them to the community, into the rural areas. Is
Hmm.
that what you said?
Yes, community in the rural areas. Community is
Because
not
don't you
just about rural area, but rural exposure is a very specialized domain which they don't get.
Right.
Hmm.
My question is, because our students are going to inhabit offices or work in setup, which is going to be in the urban setup. We are taking them to the rural setup. So I want you to talk about that area where the rural folk. It's such a taboo for them. It's such a stigma to even approach and talk to somebody of their problems. So is there some work happening in that area? Because I really rightfully appreciate that the back understanding the background makes them find psychoanalysts or counselors or the areas, because I'm yet to understand the other areas of it. So, but if given this, how is it moving into the rural areas and helping out? Because I really liked what you said, that you'd like to move into the first started off in various parts of Bengal and then would like to move ahead in various parts of the country.
Okay, so primarily there are several government jobs which are not necessarily in the urban area for
Right,
psychology,
right.
like Public Service Commission.
Hmm.
If they are giving, they are recruited in government hospitals,
Right.
and that can be in any district, Murshidabad,
Mm.
anywhere, or it can be in the city, like Arjikor or NRS, there also.
Right.
So, like every government job, there is a location, you are posted. So that is one particular thing, that you don't know where you will be. So your urban exposure is already with you.
Okay.
Specifically for students of who are coming to NSHM Kolkata,
Yeah.
in the because of the location and everything, they are mostly residing in urban locations. So urban sociocultural influences are something which they are having in their daily life. When they are coming here also at the age of 18, 19 years, they have already lived this life for 19, 20 years.
Right.
So this is there. In our classroom training, when we give them an example that, see, this happens when your mother was parenting you, they understand it. But when I say that in a village, this is happening to a person of your age, then they fail to relate. But if I can take them there, that is an additional training to them, because this they already have. If I can add to that, my students' area of professional absorption increases. Now they can work anywhere, because when this actually is a combined vision of five of us in this department, because we felt that when we were kids, when our parents used to tell us that, the newspaper is saying that this is happening
Mm.
there, we failed to relate. But as psychologists, we have understood that if we fail to relate here, we had to learn it our way. So we went independently because our colleges did not provide
Right.
it.
Right.
So then we thought, why not provide it this here only? Because they are in a structured course. Every time they are not studying and students feel bored. Every
Right.
time sitting in the classroom and reading
Absolutely.
books. So let us do it in this 3, 4 years, two
Wonderful.
years time only.
So, could you talk about what are the various places you have taken the students to, or one or two experiences which you would like to bring onto the table?
Okay, so basically we have gone to Murshidabad district. This is a very new endeavor we have taken up. So we have primarily gone to 3 or 4 villages inside that the house thing that I was talking about. So we went there, we stayed there for 2, 3 days, and we went inside houses. We covered, I think, 9 to 10 houses per day because it
Wow.
takes time,
Mm.
and we divided them into groups of 5, 10 students, and we each one of them were taken up by teachers, and there initially 1 or 2 we did, so we showed them how you interact, how you get in, because it is their house.
Right.
You don't allow anyone and everyone like that, but there also they understood the difference, that in cities we are more apprehensive
Yes.
about allowing unknown people, but there they will invite you. So they were very fascinated by it. They are offering food to us, they are allowing us to sit like that. So that was one thing we did. Another we did in I think Birbhum district only. That was a school workshop we
Okay.
conducted.
Okay.
So we were taking up village adolescents there. So
Okay.
they were 8, 9, 10, 9, 10, 11, 12 students, and we were exposing them to some kind of adolescent problems that they are facing, which are specific to those rural areas. So we did a prior study about what is the socio-cultural environment there, what are the problems coming up there. So dealing with that, so for that we required their family background, whether they were children of farmers or they were children of laborers, like
Okay.
that. So based on that, what problems they can have, so we prepared a pre-decided workshop structure on that. So that workshop was primarily carried out by the faculties only, and the students were basically assisting there, and they were interacting independently with the students and learning about their background, their lifestyle, their how they live, how they study, and they were connecting to what is the difference, because they are also similar students, 3, 5 years
Right.
older to them,
Right.
even not that. For class 12, they are just 1 or 2 years older to
Right.
that.
Right.
So we have done these two till now, and we are planning to do a few more, maybe in Howrah or
Okay.
that Midnapur side,
Wonderful.
something of
Wonderful.
that sort.
Again, another question is, what's the difference between, whenever we talk about psychology, the few terms which are often, we keep hearing is a psychological counselor, psychotherapy, psychoanalysis. So I
Hmm.
just want you to quickly tell us a little about that.
Okay. So basically, counselors and psychotherapists, the difference is in psychology, there are different kinds of problems. One is simple health related, the thing that we call psychosocial health. So it is my mental health overall, like some adjustment issues, like some well being factors. I
Right.
don't feel good. But when you go into the structure of clinical psychology, you cannot put that person into a diagnosis, like this person is having depression, or this person is having some kind of mood disorder, any
Hmm.
other kind of mania or something. So in those conditions, generally we refer that person to a counselor.
Right.
So you can see that counselor is a basic level thing,
Okay.
where minor adjustment issues, mental well-beings, immediate something has happened, immediately someone has told me something, I feel bad,
Right.
immediate handling, short-term context, not much in depth. Psychotherapy is a more structured thing, a more scientific, and it has a predetermined paradigm
Right.
or structure associated with it, where more severe mental illnesses, or for that matter not severe, basically mental illnesses are dealt, all the mental illnesses that are covered under the domain of psychopathology.
Right.
Adjustment is not pathology,
Right.
but schizophrenia is a pathology.
Okay.
So that is the domain of a psychotherapist. Psychoanalysis is basically a totally different domain of psychotherapy, which was given up by Sigmund Freud. It is a
Yeah.
psychodynamic field
Mm.
of thought.
Yes.
So it is a different thought. It is a psychotherapy, but it is a different form of psychotherapy. When we want to cover psychotherapy, we basically say cognitive behavior therapy like this.
Right.
Psychoanalysis and many other therapies are basically different subfields where we require different training. Like if you look into the psychotherapy paper syllabus of the master's final year clinical psychology students, you will find there are a list of psychotherapies. But psychotherapies are not limited there. There are
Okay.
several psychotherapies beyond it. Then what are the psychotherapies included there? They are those which come under the broader umbrella and which can be directly through one form of training. But
Okay.
there are some psychotherapies which do not fall under one form of training. One of them among is psychoanalysis.
Okay. Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. I'm learning in the process. Yeah. Yes. Just let's kind of talk about psychology at NSHM,
Hmm.
psychology department, and the entire work, for our students, for the benefit of the students.
Okay. So if you want to shortly know about psychology department in NSHM Kolkata, basically we are running from 2018. Currently we are a 5 faculty department. I'll not focus on the mandatory things that an institute or a department is supposed to do, like qualified faculties, regular classes. These are supposed to be a part of the institute. I can only say that all the compulsory factors that are part of any department, any academic department are here as well. Now, if I talk about deviant things, one thing I already talked about the clinic.
Yeah.
So that is the primary thing because most master students basically in other institutes go out for internships. Our students also go, but what happens in internship is as psychology is a very complicated subject. So in internship, mostly students are allowed to be sitting and just seeing what is happening because the person under whom you're going for the internship, they don't know you much, and we don't want to do any harm to our patients,
Right.
so we don't allow students to talk. But when you have an inside clinic and when our students are beyond internship, handling cases inside our clinic, what happens is we know our students personally. So, based on their independent quality, we know when to give the student something to do independently with the particular client because I know that person can handle.
Is it something unique which is happening in a education institution, or does it happen in other institutions as well, or is it something unique with us NSHM?
It is unique in the form it doesn't happen in all institutions. It is happening in some government institutions. If you consider master degree courses, then it is happening in government institutions like University of Calcutta. But there, what happens is, as it is a government institution, naturally the patient flow is huge, and the students don't get a one-to-one interaction with the
Okay,
supervisor.
wonderful.
Here, what happens is we are there, the student is there, and the client is there. So it's a what actually literally we mean by hands-on training, that
Wonderful.
you are seeing the client also. I am immediately giving you the context. Okay, don't handle it like this. Let us take it up like this. So they can see in their teachers what I am supposed to be, what my demeanor is supposed to be in front of my client. But in other places where you're taught in the classroom that this is supposed to be your demeanor, and then you yourself independently maybe going and seeing your patients in institutes, some institutes, not all. But here, our unique context is here we are sitting just beside the student and we are giving that actual hands on training in our clinic. So, that is something which is very, very specific for us. So, additional to this, basically, I'll take it in line of psychoanalytical therapy that you were talking about because I said that there are some therapies which are deviant, we call it
Yeah,
deviant
yeah,
forms of
yes,
therapy, which doesn't fall under the core curriculum.
absolutely.
Like the highest degree for a clinical psychologist currently is MPhil in clinical psychology. But there are some therapies which are not covered till that MPhil in clinical psychology course, like trauma focused therapy,
Yeah.
psychoanalytical therapy, narrative therapy.
Hmm.
Our faculties are trained in all these
Oh,
therapies.
wow.
But not all, but some in trauma therapy, some in narrative therapy, some in psychoanalytical therapy. So, what happens when I am trained in that? My classroom lectures are enriched with that. Additionally, naturally, I can give my students that additional information or how you can go with it if you're interested. Further to that, research exposures. Dissertation is a part of their course, but beyond that, our students can do independent researches with us, which is not there in any so-called other institutions. Further to this is basically additional internships because syllabus provides one internship, but we encourage you to do internships 2 to 3 minimum in a 2 years time period for the master's program. So yeah, I think if you want to focus on what unique we are doing, and community mental service, I told you already,
Absolutely,
that
absolutely.
is not something that any institute does till date,
Right.
at least not in West Bengal. So covering West Bengal rural
Absolutely.
institutes is something, and we have the conferences, and I don't know whether this is already public or not, because but the Department of Psychology here is starting their first annual national conference for the first time, which is unique for the department. It is beyond the NatConf one, which is already there, which is for the whole health science. So psychology department is independently starting a conference. So
Wonderful.
basically 2 conferences per year is a huge research exposure for
Absolutely.
BSc MSc students. Yeah, I think that's what we are doing additional to what core we are supposed
So
to do.
the something unique for psychology at NSHM would be that the exposure they have in terms of the projects,
Hmm.
working with community-based projects, and also having an exposure to having a communication, a psychology clinic, plus exposure to writing papers, presenting papers,
Yes.
and hands-on supervisors helping them out. That
Hmm.
means you mean to say if a student joins in NSHM, these are the unique features they have
Hmm.
at NSHM.
And additionally, we have the value added courses
Right.
where we have seminars and workshops, and we make sure that the seminars and workshops are on the topics which are not in the syllabus, so
Fantastic.
that they have outside speakers who are giving them knowledge 1 day or 2 hours per day on something which is in psychology but not something in their core course curriculum for
True.
their holistic
And
development.
of course, you have the language training and other soft skills
Yeah.
training,
Hmm.
which happens for the students.
Hmm.
Right. So these are the unique points. So the last line is, if somebody would want to join NSHM, why should they take up psychology only from NSHM?
Like I said, that the USPs that I talked about, they will not ideally get a combination of this. Like I said, they can get client exposures, huge exposures in the University of Calcutta, definitely. But I added on what are the specific features. But along with that, research exposures. No BSc colleges as such offers research exposure to a BSc
Absolutely.
student,
Absolutely.
because when we were students also we heard that research is not for BSc students, but right now we are seeing that there are, even we were also, but we were not catered there. Students are interested in research in BSc, then why not go ahead with that?
Absolutely.
So that thing, workshops and seminars, community exposures. So yeah, in one line, I don't think that this combination of unique experience is available anywhere in such a prime location and in such a easily accessible condition for students who are thriving. And one more thing I can guarantee here is that psychology is a deviant thing, and most students take it up for several reasons. Like, you can be a neat aspirant but you
Yeah.
did not get into medical, so you may feel that okay, this is something close to being a medical student, so I can take this up. Sometimes it can be that I did a humanities, my parents want me to be a science graduate, so if I do history I cannot do it, if I do psychology I can do it.
Yeah.
So there are various reasons, but at the end we feel that it is ultimately our unconscious drive. So
Yes.
when it is our unconscious drive, I think we cater to that unconscious drive here. So we come with an internal question here. And when your faculties can answer that internal question, degree anyways you will get from several colleges. At the end of, if it is a 3 years course, after 3 years,
Oh,
it's a 4 years
great.
course after 4 years. But along with that, if you get an answer to the inner question with which you came, that is the maximum success or the best
Absolutely.
possible form of success that we can think of. I think that the way we can offer is hardly any other place which can offer that.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much. It was very, very insightful to discuss with you, Dr. Parama Gupta. And thank you so much.
Thank you.